Welcome to Straight Talk from the Dorothy Hodgkin Project, a new Oxford initiative to support women in science. This series offers insights and personal experiences from top scientists. Jillian Simon is completing her PhD in Barbara Casadei's lab, where they research the electrical activity of the heart. Here they talk about the exciting advances in how we treat people with heart disease, the relative attractions of clinical medicine and medical research, the importance of having a supportive sponsor to keep your career on track, and the satisfaction of mentoring others.
I've always loved science. Science was always from when I was really little. I did science Olympics all through younger school, so primary school and secondary school. And I had some amazing, actually most of my strong female role models were my science classes. And I think that probably had more of an impression on me than I maybe appreciated at the time. But I just saw these really, really strong, vibrant women who loved what they did, and they were always my science teachers, and they inspired me quite a lot.
I wanted to be a neurologist, and then I started to do some neurology training, and it was very elegant, very interesting. There was no cure. Whereas at the time, we were starting to see, when I was a medical student, the first ACE inhibitors came to the market. There was starting to be the clinical trials in heart failure, and and then the statins, and then and then the thrombolysis. You just had the sense that things were progressing really fast, and it was a very exciting field where you, even as a doctor, even without doing any research, you were exposed to a lot of innovation. And that, I think, really did it for me, because I thought, well, it's more than just knowing how to diagnose something, is also what am I going to do with it, and I thought that was terrific, exciting. I still do. Yeah, I still do. I mean, it has been a revolution. In my lifetime, the management of patients with cardiac disease has been a complete revolution. From primary PCI to now, and less than 4% in hospital mortality, to 2 weeks bed rest. You're successful in your career, you advance in your career because you're good at the lab, you can get results, you can get them relatively quickly because you're good with your hands. And then you get to a certain point, and all you do is really, writing grant applications, writing papers, networking from a scientific point of view, and mentoring and supervising other people's work. But in my evolution has been that I moved more and more out of the lab in terms of doing things myself. And I've seen all of my colleagues exactly in the same position. So first I thought, maybe I haven't played it correctly, maybe I let it slip. But I see that everybody is in the same predicament. Absolutely everybody. And so perhaps it's just not compatible to, it's difficult to do both, to be on the top of your experimental ability as well as manage everything else.
Yeah. I think, there comes a point, right, that you just have to accept the transition, which has always struck me as so interesting, because we are trained from the beginning of our PhD programs and our postdocs the whole time to be really good at the bench, be really good at designing experiments, and being methodical and being careful and having controls and all of these things. And the thing we do in the end is write papers, and we don't start writing grants sort of until the end of our training. Yet at the end of the day, it's certainly not what as you advance in academia, it's not what you end up spending majority of your time on. Not the hands-on stuff. You still have to ask good questions and know how to design good experiments, but I imagine that's not how you spend majority of your time.
I think, what kind of example of image I am projecting, spending all the time writing, reading, trying to raise the funding for the next 5 years and all of that kind of thing. Does it come through or not?
Part of this process and having a team, and actually what I like about it is that not everyone does the same stuff, and that you're not trying to come in and just work in the lab.
No.
Right.
Definitely not.
Right. You trust that we are capable of doing what we're able to do, and so...
Better than I would, yes, at this point, most definitely, yeah.
But I think that also goes along with a successful and positive work relationship between sort of a senior PI and their researchers, is that you have to trust that we're getting on with it, and we have to trust that you're doing everything you can to help our career by networking, by showing off our work, by writing grants, by it's this mutually beneficial and respectful arrangement you have.
No, it definitely occupies my thoughts. I mean, the thought of your career and your career progression is in my mind all the time, at every level, at every... you know, it goes back to what they say, you know, that people who are training and, you know, they are sort of advancing need a sponsor for a number of years, and the critical time. I was without anybody who would say, no, Barbara is good, you know, she should be in that position, or she should try this, or she... And I really noticed the difference. Yeah, I really noticed the difference. Nothing really much was happening, and you know, it is almost, you feel like you're becoming invisible. Yeah, and I felt very threatened, you know, thinking, gosh, I mean, what am I? Then luckily, you know, after an interim period, they appointed a new head of department, and then we started again. You know, the head of department is something you appreciate when you don't have one. You know? Otherwise, you take for granted everybody who is in a senior position. You know, you look down and you do your stuff, and you don't, you know, you're expecting you take for granted that the environment around you will kind of function somehow. Then when you don't have that, it's a really pretty terrible feeling of being drifting. You know, and yeah, I find that was probably one of the most difficult time. And Isabella, my daughter, was little as well. You know, so yeah, I had about 5 years, I would say, where I wasn't sure whether I would continue. So I also have been in that time where, you know, I thought I might drop out. I am completely addicted to the fact that you find something new. You see something for the first time. I mean, where else do you do that?
Yeah, or get to hear. I love going to conferences and just hearing all of the really cool things people are doing.
Yes.
And just digesting it and being inspired by it. I don't know many jobs where you get to be inspired as frequently as we get to be inspired.
I don't think.
No.
I can't think of any. At this level, I can't think of any either. I think it's the most exciting job that one can possibly have, with all the pressures and everything else, but, you know, definitely.
But I think it takes... everyone I've seen that's quite successful, you have to be a strong personality, in the sense that there's some low lows in science, right? You get stuck in a project, things aren't working, there's a lot of pressure. So you have to be able to see the big picture all the time and remember why you love doing this and be able to cope with that.
Yes.
This is Straight Talk from the Dorothy Hodgkin Project. Our project supports women returning to science after taking a career break, and we urgently need your help. The more people who support us, the bigger the story and the bigger the impact. Please share this and make a gift today at www.dorothyhodgkinproject.com.